Oh, welcome everyone. Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here and just to have this opportunity, just to really be present, just to really be honest with ourselves where we're at. Because really it's an authentic path, true honesty. And just really we're just here to undo the blocks to love's presence together. It's kind of pretty basic, isn't it? That we've been telling ourselves lies and now it's time to expose the lies. That's pretty much A Course in Miracles, isn't it? That's every single pathway. It's just keep exposing what is not the truth. If we knew the truth, it would be here, and you wouldn't need to be listening to me, would you? So there's blocks. It's kind of pretty basic, really, that we have to see where our attention is going. That is not on the present moment, and that's a lot of the time, isn't it? There's so many distractions. And that seems to have been a very big theme, you know, the past. Most human beings have a haunted past, and that continuously is regurgitated and is brought into the seeming present moment. And so really we're being told that we don't even see at all because we only see the past. Really we see through a lens of hatred. Because the ego hates what it sees, it's not happy with anything. That's its whole role, really. To be completely unhappy and to believe that you are unhappy, and that there's always a problem, there's always something, and that's that keeps us from the present moment, doesn't it? If you notice it, it's kind of problems. We can be having a peaceful moment and then all of a sudden a problem arises, and it's like, well, I was having a peaceful moment and now I've been disrupted. And that's either your thoughts or seemingly something in the form, which ultimately are both the same thing. So the ego is just a disruption. It's just this disruption mechanism from the basic light. And so having to get really, really honest about what is disrupting us. And it's funny actually, because I was reading, I don't know whether anyone knows of a saint called Teresa of Avila, Saint Teresa of Avila. And I've been going through her autobiography, which is amazing. I highly recommend it. She was a Catholic saint. So, and we're talking in the 1500s, when she was seemingly alive. And so a lot of thoughts on sacrifice were drilled into her, and yet she was still having very mystical experiences throughout her devotion and her love. And she saw herself as a very simple person. She never saw herself as being saintly or anything. And she felt like she was blessed with so many visions, so many revelations, so many raptures, so many enlightening experiences that consistently changed her mind. And through that, many, many trials came, huge trials came. People didn't believe her. They thought she was making it up. She was attracting attention to herself. She was not being godly. She was possessed by the devil. It was, what would they call them? Dark spirits were, condemning her. And so she had all these people around her to basically help and sort of interpret what was happening for her. And, some of it was not good. A lot of the time, half the people were sort of against her and half the people were sort of supporting her. And this is where she always found herself. And, she was told to stop praying. And basically what I found from her and her book, I think basically the Catholic Church said you can't expose all of your private thoughts on here, but just give us sort of a round figure of what's happened in your life because it seems important. And so she did. So she did that. But she specifically wrote in the beginning of the book that I wasn't allowed to write everything of how I've condemned myself, but I will try to give the best account that I can of what happened, and my obviously in their world my sins are far greater than what I can actually say here. But what I found with her through reading the book is that she had such honesty about what was happening for her. She didn't want to hide anything. So even though she was having all of this attack was coming to her through having mystical experiences, she still never wanted to hide it. And she would always share exactly what happened to as much detail as possible. And including like in her confessions, she would want to share absolutely everything to be completely transparent. And I thought, wow, she's doing exactly the same as what we're practicing. She was doing this 1,500 years ago. And I think like throughout the book, like most people would probably be looking at the mystical experiences and things, but not noticing how actually transparent she was in like really that was like the key to letting the Lord in, because she never hid from anyone, including sometimes when she wasn't supposed to talk about things, she would feel compelled to share. But as she becomes stronger in herself, and the more God took over, the more she knew when to share and when not to share. So particularly as there was a much greater plan at work that she was a part of, the visions that she was having for monasteries and all kinds of things that started to come through that the Lord wanted to work through her. And one of the major things really was where really no one could argue with her experiences, is that the more and more she had these experiences, the less and less she was affected by the outside world, the less and less she was affected by the criticisms that were coming her way. And in fact, that made her more, that gave her more strength to want to be in full presence all of the time. And as she said, like she couldn't even control these experiences. They just came. They just came at times. And when she felt compelled to share with somebody about their spiritual path, in the beginning she felt like it was ego, it was arrogance, but in actual fact she was being like extremely helpful. And so it was just, she she really was not in control of what was happening to her. But the only thing that she could do was be completely and utterly honest with where she was absolutely at. And I think that's where we find ourselves in this place of being completely and utterly honest with where we're at. Because that's where these dark corners hide. I mean, for example, something that I've been looking at over the last week or so, and it seems to be it's been in and around me. But there's this idea of abandonment, and I feel like I abandon others more than I don't so necessarily feel abandoned by others, but I recognise I abandon others by putting a gap in between us. And I see that particularly with ones that I live with. I find it easier to have the fleeting contact, but when it comes to living with others, I see myself becoming more separate. It's easier that way. I've got really nothing to say to anyone. I don't feel to share with anyone what's really going on. I kind of see myself going inward, and I see myself, I call it abandoning the other. And it's almost like this veil wants to come down. So for example, I could be on my own in my room, and I feel very joyful, I feel happy, I feel prayerful, I feel present, and I feel relaxed, and I feel in a good space. And then I have to go into the kitchen, and then it's like, as soon as I decide, okay, maybe I want a drink or something, as soon as that sort of happens, I notice like there's a barrier that sort of comes up, as if, oh, I might bump into someone or something, and then I'm just not going to know what to do really. And of course, that's not really for me to decide what to do or what to say. But the interesting thing is like there seems to be this barrier that comes up, and then I just feel closed down. And so it's like this veil that wants to create a distance between the truth, and I don't really know what it's all about. Like, it's like, why can't I stay open? Why can't I stay open to everything and everyone? It's almost like this boredom with being with these people. It's like, okay, I'm bored with talking to these people. I've got nothing to say to them any longer. You know, what's the point? Sort of thing. I'd rather just be in silence, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being in silence. But it's like it's coming from this barrier. It's coming from this seeming darkness that I feel inside. So, yeah, I felt to expose that and really be in this prayer of like, wow, I just need help. I need complete help with this. I need help to stay open all of the time. You know, that's why I do these episodes, really, because they help me to open up. They help me to see the blocks. I'm like doing it live, you know. I have got no script or anything, so I'm just here doing whatever's happening. So when I sit down to start this, it's like, okay, what's blocking my mind? What don't I want to share? You know, that's what I try and say each time before I start this. Okay, what is it I don't want to say? You know, I name the episodes Get Real. So what am I? Am I going to be a hypocrite? I need to do what I'm saying, and if I'm not doing it, then I obviously need to expose it, because this isn't about getting anywhere or being anyone or making something of this whatsoever. It's just about really full exposure. And so, yeah, it's kind of interesting, like, you know, okay, maybe we can say that these relationships are more intimate now, and I'm putting some barrier up to true intimacy. But the interesting thing about what I've been reading in the course this week, and it's an amazing section. Let me just see if I can find it, because I can't remember what it's called now. I've been going over and over on this section in chapter 26. Where is it? It's this way. Oh no, it's not. It's in 24, sorry. And what was it? You can check it out later. Oh, the salvation from fear, it's called. Salvation from fear. It is section 6, and it is that's the goal of specialness. That's the chapter 24. Salvation from fear. And this sort of just appeared in my life, this section, and I was like, wow, I've not heard that. I'd forgotten all about this. But basically, in there, he makes a very big distinction. And he says, do you want to see the body, or do you want to see holiness? Do you want to see your brother's holiness, or do you want to see the body? Because if you're seeing the body, you're seeing with the ego, and you're seeing a distortion, and you're never ever going to be able to see past that. If you see anybody as a body, or you see yourself as a body, you're always going to be stuck in time and space, seeing this solid object. And that seems to be our world, doesn't it? It seems to be that I am this separate body, you are this separate body, and these two separate bodies are talking to one another. And this is the very, very problem that we find ourselves in. That I have this dense matter, and if I'm seeing bodies, he teaches in this section, you are teaching specialness. That you want to be special, and you're making the other person special. That you can be making them special in hatred, in whatever it is. So it's just keeping you locked into this one thing and another thing that are relating to one another as bodies. And this disgust with these bodies, basically, because of course, as in other chapters, that the course teaches us that the ego hates the body, that it's not good enough for itself. And so that's why we often project onto our bodies, don't we? We project this hatred. If this hatred isn't going out in something didn't go right today, I missed my bus, my boss wasn't very nice to me, I hate my relationship, I want a new house, whatever it might be, I'm not getting what I want from the world, basically, then it becomes, okay, we've had enough of looking outside, says the ego, now we go into the body. My body is getting fat. My body is too skinny. My body is too ugly. You know, I don't like this about my body. I don't like that about my body. And then it might even go into mind, you know, I hate the way I am as a person. I am an obnoxious idiot, you know. Why the hell did I say what I had to say? And so this is where we find ourselves, don't we? And if you really, really start to look at your mind, you're just hopping from one judgment to another, trying to be present with the spirit as to what is actually going on in our mind. So of course there's the ego loop of just pure hatred running the show and bringing you down constantly, and the spirit is there in the background, basically wanting to lift us up into our true reality. And if we're believing in this ego that is just relentless in its approach towards you, and even you know, its subtle ways of continuously keeping you believing its stories, that you don't want to expose to anybody. You don't want anybody to know this person that you believe that you are, that may not even be true. And that's why actually exposure is everything, really. It's continuously exposing that. And so this is what I've been noticing for myself, because I've had a lot of conversations with people over this last week, and there seems to be a lot of hatred towards the body. Yeah, things not going right with the body. And of course, we all know that that's just a projection for our own guilt. This world was made in hate. This world, the ego's world, is guiltville, you know. It's just pure and utter guilt. And wherever it can hook us into the guilt and bring us back into, I'm this terrible person, I'm not good enough, which is the ego's really only statement for you. You're not enough. That wasn't good enough. Then when you stay in that place, yeah, it's just all complete hell. And so you have things that you don't want to expose. You have a lot of things that you hope that no one knows about you, and you keep to yourself, and the ego keeps saying, yeah, I know about it, don't I? But don't tell anybody else, because you're going to be hated, just the same as I hate you. I hate you for who you are, and you're never going to be enough. But don't expose it to others, because then you will be really attacked. And you will be exposed. And you will not be liked. And so, as the Course teaches, you made a pact with the ego. You've made a complete and utter pact, never ever to expose yourself. And maybe you might get a little bit brave, and you might have exposed a few things, but there's certain things in the locker that are out of bounds, that you don't want anybody to know. You don't want anybody to know what you're thinking about yourself, and you certainly don't want anybody to know about what you're thinking about others. You know, and this is happening frequently. These judgments about others, and of course they are just the judgment on yourself. We are in this pure destructive nature of judgment. That's what the ego wants us to believe. It wants to believe that our judgments are absolutely real, and that's what keeps this bind together. But what it doesn't want you to know as well, though, with this commitment, is in actual fact, before this commitment, you actually made another commitment. And you actually made a commitment to God. And that commitment was that you are His son, and you will always be loved unconditionally, forever and forevermore. And nothing can change that love. In fact, that love can only grow. It can only expand into everything, and that is like that was your first and last commitment, and that's the only thing that we've forgotten. You've forgotten that you've made this commitment, and now seemingly there's been this other commitment that's been made. And this is where we find our problem. So it's interesting that we're now moving into commitment, because this is where we find a lot of difficulty in actually truly committing to. If we made a full commitment to God, it would be all over. There would be no more suffering, because there is no suffering. So that commitment is already made. We're just remembering that commitment. But instead, we are these, what would it be called, dodgy characters that have made another commitment. So you've like, oh, okay, I'm just going to make this commitment with the ego. I'm just going to make the hatred commitment. I'm going to make the judgment commitment. And now we are playing seemingly one another off against each other to try and keep everything away from actually looking at what is truly going on. Because obviously, as the Course teaches us, it's actually only you. You're only actually doing it to yourself. You can't actually do anything to anyone else, and no one can actually do anything to you. Whatever is appearing is what you're asking for. Everything is coming for you, because you are generating it. So if there's these judgments in the mind, these judgments are going to come forth towards you. And that's a good thing, because that's actually where the healing is at. If you feel contracted by what's happening, you know, you might even feel contracted by what I'm saying now, and that's actually a really, really good thing. That's actually wonderful, because it's like something is actually being stirred up that wants to be released, and you're ready to actually release it if you're feeling some sort of emotion there. That's our right use of judgment. And so that's what I've been seeing for myself. It's like, you know, how do I stop these barriers, these seeming barriers from coming down? Because of course, we have ones that we find more comfortable to be around, and we have others that we don't find so comfortable to be around, yeah? Seemingly the energy, if you want to call it that, is not so conducive, and so it's like, okay, let's move away from this. But in actual fact, that's where the gift is, just to continuously want to look at that a little bit more. What is this gap that I'm creating? That I'm not even creating it. In fact, I can't even create that. I can't even create that gap. I'm imagining that I'm creating the gap. And I think that's actually where we have to learn to be, that we're not, it's impossible to create the gap as we're being told. So it's like, okay, this is my imagination. I'm imagining this gap. So therefore, I don't have to take it seriously. I don't have to take it personally. It's a mirage. It's fake. It's fake news. It's old news. It's the past. As Jesus teaches, you're only seeing the past. And so if you're seeing the past, you're actually seeing nothing at all. You've never actually seen. And so until you're absolutely in the unified field, really, you're not seeing anything. Until you see everything is perfect, whole and complete, there's nothing to be seen. You're seeing separation. You're seeing with the ego. The Course in Miracles is black and white. That's why I love it. There's no beating around the bush, is there? It's either full vision, which is complete love, as we talked about last night. David shared last night in one of my favourite lessons, 127. There is no love but God's. It boils down to this. And I've shared it many, many times. I love the subject. It brings me great joy. You know, you're never going to get anything from anyone other than the great Redeemer. You know, it's plain and simple. There's nothing here for you other than his love. It's kind of pretty simple. So it's like, well, then that's where my energy wants to go. My energy wants to go into that. And as he says, you know, you think that there are different types of love. There is one love for this one, there's one love for this, there's one love for that. And in that section, he's teaching, no, that is not love at all. Love is completely and utterly unified. And in actual fact, he says love is one. It's completely and utterly one. It doesn't change. It doesn't change from person to person or situation to situation. It is a perspective. It is the unified perspective of truth. And so anything that's not that is the disruption. And so that's great. I want to know that I'm in the disruption. I'm not trying to sit here being all saintly and doing an episode and pretending to be something that I'm not. That's just never ever going to get you anywhere. You know, we can all kind of bolster up ourselves, but at the end of the day, wherever you go, there you are, and you're stuck with actually needing to be totally and utterly honest with what's truly happening. And so, yeah, I could just see, like, you know, from this week and looking at it, it's like, okay, so where are these blocks to love's presence then? What am I? How am I projecting? What the hell am I doing? What is stopping me from being this ultimate reality, because I'm not experiencing that. So that has to be the deepest prayer of my heart. It has to be the deepest prayer of your heart, to want God above everything else, to be on our knees, to say, show me everything. Show me this love. Show me that I am everything. Show me that I'm not this body. Show me what goes beyond all of this. I want to know. I want to know the truth. And we must desire this above everything else. It's that simple. Just continuously to desire this. So now together we need to expose everything that is not that. And so that's what I was beginning with like, okay, yeah, there seems to be these blocks towards my brothers. I don't completely know what it is. It's like, okay, I don't feel connection here. I don't know what that is. And then I was thinking about, my body, and it was just like, because these conversations kept coming up around people's bodies, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly, I'm doing this. I'm projecting onto my body. So what's going on? So what's going on there? And it's like, oh, okay, my legs are too skinny. Is my penis big enough? Why haven't I got any hair? God, I'm getting fat. Oh, my shoulders are becoming more rounded. Is my neck? My neck seems to be coming forwards now. It's like, it doesn't seem to be in a good position. My back's hurting me. What else have I got going on? What other things are going on? My chest is flat. Should I be doing exercise? Should I be eating less? I'm eating too much. My mind's fixated on food. I'm eating too much. I need to cut down. That's what I started doing. I was like, God, you're getting fat. You're just completely, you're getting overweight. You're just getting a gut on you. You're still skinny, but yet now you've got a gut going on. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, God, I'm not looking too good these days, am I? So I'm like, okay, well, what the hell am I going to do about all this? Okay, well, stop eating as much. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go down. I'm going to get serious. I'm going to go down to 1 meal a day. So that's what I've been practicing. One meal a day. Again, but ultimately, really and truthfully, it's actually to try and change the form. It's not to as part of a spiritual practice, which could be part of devotion. But all of a sudden, the mind becomes fixated on, okay, if only I can make this body a bit better. I've done it before. I've lost weight. I've done all these things. I've gone to the gym. I've done all that before, so it can happen. Yeah, was I happy? Well, no, clearly not. And it's like that like trap again. I mean, admittedly, for me, I can see with food, like, I think like I've dealt with addiction to drugs, drink, smoking. I've kind of dealt with them, and in actual fact, they were like actually really, really easy. Like it just doesn't even enter my mind anymore. Like I like, it's kind of funny that I took drugs. Like I don't drink any. I'm like I would have a drink now and again. I would. I know it's not going to affect me. I'm not a prisoner to any of that anymore. I don't smoke any longer. I'm not a prisoner to that. Like none. Like it just doesn't affect me. I don't even think about it. I'm like, Christ, I used to smoke once before. I just can't even remember really. So it's kind of funny like to talk about it. And it's like, I recognised that once I stopped all that, then sort of like food came in, and then I started eating more really. And so now that's become like this block. And of course, in a way, I'm doing it because I want to deal with the body, because like, I'm seemingly, so now we're talking about time, getting older, and like, okay, what am I going to do? Be a fat slob all my life, Seemingly that's not what that's not what I want. So I've got to try and do something about this. And it's all about trying to change this body. But the thing is that the ego is never ever going to be happy with what I've done, as I've said. It's never ever going to be happy with anything that I do, because in fact I'm not doing it for the right purposes. I'm doing it to try and change form. And I'm never ever going to get anywhere through this. But this is the type of thoughts that have been crowding my mind, and it's like, well, I don't want to expose that on camera, so here we are. Let's just do it. I can't be, as you said, preaching to the choir, and then I'm sitting down there 6 days a week, and not being truthful in what's really going on. And it's like, like everything will drop away naturally when it needs to. I don't have to worry about that. I have seen with food that it has become like an addiction, and then it's just, I can see that I'm eating for the sake of it, and it's almost like I feel the feelings of hunger as like these misdirected miracle impulses coming in. Really, I can see that it's my call for God, and so it's like, okay, I do feel like I want to do something to snap my mind out of that. So I'm using it to strengthen up my presence, not to hinder myself. So that's really what I'm praying for here, is like, Jesus, take this from me. Like, help my mind be so aligned with you. Don't let my mind focus on these things that are completely and utterly irrelevant, and this self-hatred that I'm projecting onto myself, which is killing me. And it was funny. It was actually funny before this discussion, because I was sitting in the chair, and my ego was like, "You're not going to expose everything." And I was like, yes, I am. I'm not going to be a prisoner to you any longer. So I got into that, and I had to feel that strength inside, like, okay, this is going out to the whole world if they wish to tune into this. But I think somehow that's what actually makes it even more helpful, because it's just like, okay, listen, no, I cannot do that. Because it also reminds me of the story that David always tells about Gandhi, and I love that the first time I heard it, whereby this mother takes her child to see Gandhi and says, "Gandhi, my child is eating too much sugar. I want you to help her. Can you help her?" So he has a one-on-one consultation with her, and talks all about her issues, and then he has no remedy for her. So the mother's waiting outside, all like expecting, okay, great, he's going to have a wonderful answer for her. So she goes outside. He says, "I haven't got the answer yet. Come back to me in a week's time. Come back this time next week." And he said, "And I'll have an answer for you." So the mother goes, "Oh, okay then." So a week goes by. She comes back a week later, and he gives her subscribes her what to do, and then he says, "Listen, I could not tell you to not eat sugar, because I recognised that I was doing that myself. So in actual fact, I had to get my mind into, okay, no, I need to demonstrate this first before I can start dishing out the good advice." Which, of course, that's what the ego does, doesn't it? It doesn't live up to its own standards. It sits on its high horse, telling everybody else what to do, but then it doesn't want to expose itself. Well, yeah, that's not my game, thank you very much. So it was, time to let that go. And just say, no, I'm not going to be a prisoner, and I'm not going to sit here being a hypocrite and holding private thoughts in my own mind. And so, of course, really and truthfully, that's the only way we're going to get into the present moment, because it's only these illusions of thoughts that we believe to be true that are blocking our mind, which are not true at all. It's just complete vengeance. The death wish of the ego. And it's like everything must be cleared. yeah, so it just feels like a time of like really clearing. Seemingly we're coming to the end of the year. So this feels like a good time for us all to join in that prayer of a true cleansing and to really, expose what you don't want to expose. And really let that go for good. So we join in the miracle. That's the only thing, that's what we've got actually that speeds everything up. It's like, wow, you've got a great gift. You're a miracle worker. You are entitled to miracles. It's the only time I think he ever says entitlement in the course. And he says, you are entitled to miracles. And so that's exactly what we need. That's the only thing that we should be praying for. We just pray for miracles. There's nothing else to pray for. We don't know the way. We just allow the blocks to come up and we expect miracles. It's kind of pretty simple, really, isn't it? Yeah, so let's join in the miracle. And let's join in the courage to expose everything. Bring the darkness to the light. And find our true identity. Allow that to be revealed. So many blessings, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.